Hi everyone. Apologize for the lighting. I know it's a bit dim, but it is relaxing. What I wanted to talk about was, well, how thankful I am for pretty much everything positive, everything that seems like it's been a miracle in my life. I'm able to live with family right now. My sister, my nieces and nephews, my brother-in-law, and I'm able to work for someone who is passionate about his job and will listen to me if I speak up and say something, and who will think about what I say when I argue back and come up with a logical response. Now, many of you probably have seen some of my videos and seen maybe how I point out some negative things that happened in the past, like at PLM, or something that, Google did wrong in their but there's a lot that has gone right. There's a lot of good that has happened. And there's a lot lately, to be honest, that I haven't really recognized. I haven't trusted God for some things. Right now it's like almost 1 in the morning and I couldn't sleep. But this was on my mind. When I was working at Runtime, it was nearly Christmas time. This was like 2 years ago, and I was trying to get some complicated scripting code to work on like a basically a simulated machine, and trying to run all these tests. And I actually remember running some sort of test, like running some sort of script, and it crashed. It didn't work. There was so much going on, and I knew that I needed this to work because I needed to run all these scripts, all these tests on a server, remote, but also inside of um, an emulated operating system inside a virtual machine. And I ran it like the second time, and I don't know what changed in the state. I don't even know how. It didn't work the first time, but then somehow worked the second time. I didn't really understand everything that was going on. But that worked. And there was one time that I had forgotten my glasses. I guess I had put them down in the middle of a field. And this was also in Champaign, Illinois. And I had no idea where I was going to find them, because I was like, no, I left my glasses at this park. And I didn't really have the money to get more glasses, and I was really frustrated that I had just left them on the ground when I went for a jog or something. And I just walked around and around, just looking and looking. And I could not find them. And then I said this prayer. I said, God, I'm sorry that when I did have good vision, because I used to have 20/20 vision, I said, I would try on people's glasses and I would kind of show off in a way. Because it was actually fun. I didn't feel like I was necessarily trying to be like, oh, I'm so cool. But I told them, I was able to read in pretty much anyone's glasses. My eyes could refocus. And I said, I'm sorry that I did not really give you the glory for that. I did not say, well, these eyes are from God. He's the one who gave me these powerful eyes. And as soon as I said that, I looked down and my glasses were there at my feet. Right there. Right where I was standing as soon as I said that. I was like, whoa. That is, that's amazing. I just saw this movie, Facing the Giants. I rewatched it tonight. I don't think it was a true story, but it's kind of motivating when it seems like everything is going wrong. Like you just can't do anything. And I kind of felt that way today. I mean, I got some people Christmas gifts and they didn't want them, and I was trying to read some mathematical papers and I couldn't understand what I was doing, and I just felt like nothing is going the right way. When I watched that movie before, I'd seen it when I was in Texas in the army, and I want to thank God for what happened there too, because when I was in the army, I was in training, and you weren't supposed to fraternize. You weren't supposed to, hang out with officers. You also weren't supposed to just hang out with anyone else in the military when you were in training. Now, I went to this church, this chapel on base, and also my unit was very strange. You were almost, to survive, you were almost forced to just like ignore all these like rules that they initially set up, and you were stuck there for 9 months. There weren't drill sergeants who actually focused on your life. There were just some people who just showed up, kind of did their job, and then if they just saw you breaking some rule or whatever, it saw you not doing something, then they would go have you do something, and you could literally, just hang out and like just relax all day, or you could go and ask and be like, well, what should I do? And I'm not even kidding, they would like have you like pick up cigarettes. You're not even a smoker. They would have you pick up cigarettes literally all day around the barracks. That's all you would do the whole day. You would just like pick up cigarettes. You would just like clean up these little like, and it was mental there. It was mental. But I still believed in following rules. I was like, I've always done this. I've always wanted to do this, Submit to authority. And somehow I just had forgotten, like, it was just that dissonant, I guess, at this place. So, after I had visited this chapel, I met some people, like a pastor and like someone working at the church, working at the chapel. And I was just excited. I was just, oh, this is awesome. I get to do this. This is a good use of my Sunday. I'm not just going to waste it doing nothing or something. Or, watching movies or something. I'm going to do something useful, something good. So I visited someone's home. I visited an officer's home, and he actually gave me a ride later on in the day in his car and dropped me off back at my unit, before whatever we had to gather up for the evening. And the CQ, the people on duty, were outside. They weren't even inside, they were outside. And they noticed that he dropped me off. And they basically said, okay, you're going to get in trouble now. Now, there was a guy in the barracks who was in trouble. He was caught with something on his computer that he shouldn't have been watching or something. And he was there for probably like over a year. They were just processing paperwork for him. And it was like, you couldn't just leave because you got in trouble. You'd be AWOL. And so it's like, it's kind of like being in prison. So it's like, there's no way I'd want to be stuck there at all. There's no way. It screws up your paperwork for your life. How are you going to get a job? But at the same time, you're there. You're like basically in prison. I was like, wow, so this is going to happen to me because I went to church. So I was like really frustrated, with this. And I think I got in contact with like the pastor who was like a captain or something like that. I don't know. But eventually, in that, the guy who was on duty, he said, "Oh, what are you wearing? Oh, you're wearing that to church? Oh, okay." I said, "Yeah, I guess I shouldn't have, because it wasn't like I was wearing a suit. It was like I was wearing blue jeans and a t-shirt or something more simple." And I thought he was actually just pointing out what I was wearing, but years later, I look back on that and I'm wondering if he actually thought I was just lying to him, if I hadn't even gone to church at all, or what he thought. I don't know. But eventually, I still got to go to Japan, even though Japan was the place that only like the best people went. The best of the best or something. It was like a privilege to go to Japan. And when I had signed up originally, I'd put Japan as my top choice. So when I saw that I got scheduled, when I was able to go there, I was like, this is amazing. Now he wanted to process some kind of punishment for me. And what's funny is the punishment that I made a deal with him to take was recruitment, to give up going to my hometown and basically getting paid to recruit people, but probably relax a little bit too. The thing is, I didn't want to recruit anyone at all. I didn't want to do that. So I traded something that I didn't want. And I got to go to Japan. So that was great. It's like everything worked out. And there were times, just when misunderstandings would happen and but a lot of times I think I trusted God. But I'm not sure if I have the best memory anymore. I think I used to have a really good memory, and I don't know if being exposed to mercury, is a big reason for that. There's some other things that I'm worried about these days, like my tooth, and I can actually feel when my tooth acts up. Where I have a root canal, my ear will get itchy and it'll hurt. Some people would think that they're not linked at all. They have nothing to do with each other. But there's evidence that we have little tiny canals in our body that transport toxins and stuff out. Not just blood, but smaller than that. Because how else do you explain eczema? What is eczema then? So, but that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is just show you guys, I guess, how thankful I am. And maybe the purpose really should be just to show God, but I do have a lot to be thankful for. When I was in Illinois, I was in my Crown Victoria and I felt like I was going to die in the back of my car. And I had just kind of got angry with someone. It wasn't a personal feeling towards them, it was more just angry at how people think and the fact that I can't be compatible. Because they thought something was racist, and I was trying to explain that that's not. It's not. I was just trying to explain, it's a fact. It's how you interpret the fact that actually would make it something that's racist, but the fact by itself is not a racist thing at all. In fact, if you're bad at interpreting the facts, that causes the problem, that causes the racism. And so this was like a thing that I was trying to explain to someone, and then I felt like I had to distance myself. Just, even though they weren't even arguing back, I just felt like I had to distance myself. And there's just so much separation, so much distance. And I was just in the back of my car. I wasn't even living anywhere during this month. And I was just praying. I was like, what in the world? Like, come on, God. Like, what is there left? Like, that I'm right about this or these things or whatever. And I wanted to do formal verification. I wanted to do certain things in computer science. And I was like, what has my life come to? I can't work with I had a former boss, a former consultant, and my friend basically thought that I wasn't willing to work with this boss or something. But I had to email him, and I said, hey, look, there's some things we should talk about. Email me back or something, because he offered me back a job. And when I said that, I said in the email, let's talk about what we require from each other, because I wanted to say, some things that would help his business work better by how he treats me, not just because I'm a demanding person, but because it helps him. Because in the past, I had wanted to use a server for something, and I asked permission, and then he held that against me, even though I said, I'm glad that I asked permission instead of doing something, without permission. And he held that against me, even though I didn't do anything without permission. He just held the fact that I mentioned it against me. And that's like a misunderstanding. That's like something you don't want to happen, because then it hurts the business. It makes him believe something that's not true. And so I wanted to talk with him about it, and I offered that, and he never emailed me back. And my friend, had told me, who works there, he said that I act like because of those actions, because of what I say or something, that I act like I'm more valuable than I am, or something like that. But if I'm giving my 100% and I'm doing my absolute best, and I have absolutely none of my actions or my words have anything to do with, how much value I am, and I'm just trying to work with someone, and that's all that I'm offering. I'm not basing anything off value. I'm just offering my best. Then what he's saying has to be wrong. I can't just go along with that. So I try to believe that what he's saying is true, and so I just do my best, and it still doesn't change anything, because all I can do is my best. That's all I can do. And if that's all I'm offering, then no one can accuse me of doing anything else. So I guess that's that. So that's one thing that I was praying. That's one thing I was thinking. I was like, look, I'm gonna just die in the back of my car, and this is what I did. I did my best, even though he doesn't believe it, even though nobody else knows. Nobody else on the planet. Everyone else on the planet is gonna think I'm racist, or selfish, or crazy, or whatever. Things that are not even true, per se. And I'm gonna be like, God, you were here. You've seen everything that happened. I was at Pure Life, and I said something there. I said, I think I did this thing wrong, but I'm not sure. And that was the absolute truth. And yet they held it against me. They said, oh, well, you did something wrong, and you're trying to make it sound sound like it was not as bad as what it was. And they'd whisper things in my ear and be like, you're really evil, you're going to go to hell, and you're fake, and all this. Because I tried to be honest, because I wanted to find the absolute truth, because I really wasn't sure if I had done so. I don't remember what it was. And I said, God, look, you know all this. I've been right before. I had proven a computer science professor before I even joined the military. I had a computer science professor come back to a lecture and say to the whole class, Tim was right about this. Even though I argued with him after class, and another student came and backed me up, Tim was actually right. He proved both of us wrong. And the whole class wrong. Because he was the only one who said anything. Even when he just said it in the middle of a quiz, even when I didn't even tell him what I thought the right answer was. So that's just another thing I'm grateful for, because I was dying in the back of my car. I was using Wi-Fi at a Starbucks, and this guy came up next to me and told me about a company basically across the street. And this guy knew math really well. And it took about a month to even get into the company. But I liked that company. I was like, wow. And I had a grad student friend who knew about it, and I talked with the professor, and that was Runtime. That was how I started working at Runtime. I wanted to do, research, formal verification related research. Now they just let me be a testing engineer, but still. To me, it was like a dream come true. To me, it was like the best thing in the world. To me, a guy who's having dinner at the best restaurant in Champaign, paid for by a guy who's a CEO of a cryptocurrency company, who's our client, and then going to bed that night in my SUV, which, by the way, yes, I had an SUV after my Crown Vic. I was happy. And the thing is, the Cardano, that cryptocurrency, is named after a mathematician. I didn't even realize that until a few days ago or something. So there's so many ways. And when I had dinner there, by the way, I felt like, I don't know why, because I don't want to think of people as like my enemies, but I felt like I'm having dinner in the presence of my enemies. There's a verse about that. And I felt like that around these grad students. I don't know why. I don't really know grad students. But somebody had removed me from the computer science building around that time, when I was just going there to hang out, to study, whatever. I was just, for the most part, minding my own business. I don't know if it was a girl that was jealous that I wasn't like actively hitting on her instead of some other girl or something, or if it was just someone I was getting help. One of the guys working at the office, I was asking for help for, the Wi-Fi, or what it was. But that really made me angry. That made me angry because I was a student and a veteran, and trying to work at this company and trying to basically finish my degree. So, and I technically was associated with the university after that, because then I was taking a Japanese course to finish my degree at the nearby college, at Parkland College. And the professor at the company I was working at was also teaching a compilers related course, which he said that I could sit in on. So I'm not sure. Before I worked at that company, I'm not sure why they approached me and told me, don't come back in the building unless somebody invited me or something like that. I thought that was really strange. So it really does get me angry. It makes me want to like screw with the university like for the rest of my life, and just like never let it go, and just never ever let it go, and just keep screwing with them, and just screw the crap out of them, and just make it the most annoying thing ever, so they'll never ever 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 do something like that to a veteran again. It really does. It makes me want to just totally, it gets under my skin. Like, sorry, it does. I don't let anyone mess with my country. But when your own country messes with you, after you give up your life and your blood, and you're doing your absolute best, and you're dying in the parking lot as you're trying to just do your best, then your country comes and steps on you, and acts like you're trying to be selfish, and you prove someone wrong trying to help them, and trying to help students, and then they step on you because of that, because you're teaching them math that they don't understand. But that's part of the reason why we have to learn from Jesus, is that he was killed. He was not accepted in his own country. That's what he said. Prophets are not accepted in their own country. So you get rejected by your family. You can be the most hated person in the world by your own family. I'm sure I feel like there might be someone out there who's a father who's listening to this, and he might feel like his family hates him more than anyone else on the planet, even though he's given to them more than anyone else has. You know, there might be someone out there that might be true for a mother. That might be true for someone who has a best friend. I did have a friend who I had to be very careful with my words about, because he didn't trust me, he didn't believe me. He wanted to basically never talk to me again. And the thing is, here's the thing. Never reject a human being. There's no reason to. I guess I'm not a good test for this because I just don't reject people. I guess I don't really know. But when you reject someone, you don't really know what would have happened in the other case anyway. But I haven't had to reject people. I'm not saying that I'm the most, that I'm rich and super, successful in life from a worldly point of view. But, it's not like I'm dead. It's not like my life is over. But I haven't had to reject people. Because why? Why ever reject anyone for anything? You might think, because you want what's better, someone who's... Why not put conditions on things? Just say, hey, you want to do this, right? Well, it's going to take this. This is how you do your best. This much effort. Hey, I feel like you don't understand this yet. You just be honest with people. Put it out there. Tell them what you know. Ramanujan was a mathematician who blew everyone's minds, but he was from the slums of India. Hello? The slums. Have you ever studied the type of math that he studied? If you haven't, then don't even try to judge. Don't even try to judge how difficult that is, or how impressive that is. It's not just an idea. It's true. There are people who are taken advantage of every day because they don't have a lot of money, so their children are taking away from them. This happens in Michigan and Indiana. This happens in our country. There is this woman who, she had all these Christian material and everything, and she was trying to homeschool her daughter. And some man was just taking advantage of her for work, not giving her pay. So she had no money. And this judge, this legal system decides that they just want to separate her from her daughter because she can't homeschool her daughter. Because all anyone ever does to her is take advantage of her. No one's ever just giving to her or just normal to her. No one just gives her what she earned. No one just is normal, even. They don't even have to be giving. They can just pay her what she's earned. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for, I started my calculator programming series in a music room of a house that a church owned. A room that a guy, I think, used to own that house would use that room to play some guitar, to I mean, those videos were a release for me. They helped me. They helped me take what I had done that was basically a waste of time and put it to use, make money from it, help others with it. When I was in high school, that's when I started programming my calculator. And there's just more to be grateful for there. My freshman, sophomore year, I get like a 3.8 GPA. Like, my GPA kept going up. My junior year, I fell through. I was like 2 point something because I was so depressed. I was so sad about this girl that I loved. I was 15 years old and I loved this girl in high school. She was homeschooled. And I wanted to marry her, and she didn't want anything to do with me after a pretty short amount of time. She just wasn't interested. She didn't love me. She sort of said she wanted things to work out, but then at the same time, like, she didn't. So I don't understand what went through her mind. But all I knew was I loved her and I wanted to marry her and be with her for the rest of my life. And I was the saddest person because all I could see was a life with her just disappear. Because I remember trying to call her one time and she said, I told you it's over. And I had no idea why. I didn't understand why. I never got an answer. I never got a clue. I never had any sense of why. I always felt like it's some misunderstanding, something wrong happened. I always knew it in my heart that there was some lie that she must have believed or something. Because I had no idea. I was so confused. And I've thought of things here and there, but my junior year, my grades were low. And I'm pretty sure my high school counselor must have thought I was like a drug addict all of a sudden or something. Because she's like, what is going on? We need to talk. Like, what happened? And I'm like, I don't know, this girl. She's like, well, whatever. You need to fix this or whatever. But, and I had a math teacher who thought, well, you're just not going to do good in life because statistics says that, you get these good of grades, then you'll just be like that the rest of your life. I went back my senior year and my grades were even higher than my freshman and sophomore year. It was like still up 3.8 something, around there. Really high. Because I was dedicated and I decided no matter what happens with that girl, I can't end my life and let my life fall apart because of it, because that's not going to fix anything. That's not going to make anything better. She made her decision and I can't change that. That's not my choice. I can't control that. That's in the past. It doesn't matter how much I love her. Doesn't matter that I feel like it's the most important thing in the world. It doesn't matter that it's worth $1 trillion to me. It doesn't matter if it happened because of the dumbest thing you could ever imagine, the dumbest misunderstanding. I have to learn to move on. I have to try to take that and use it as an advantage and be like, well, oh well. you know, I have to move on. I have to somehow figure out how to make that an advantage. Use that as a positive. And just go forward. And just try a new life. Survive. Didn't mean I was done being depressed, because that came back every once in a while, and it kind of helped me start realizing how screwed up the world actually is, which is important to find out early on. If you are someone who sticks up for what's right. So, it is so late. It's like 1:30 in the morning. And right now, my official job is not mathematician or software engineer. It's doing construction, building houses, framing, delivering pizzas. That's my official income source. I have to get up early. I have to work late. That's what I have to do. All the math and programming and all that I do is just little bits and pieces that I can try to squeeze in here or there. Try to talk with someone every 6 months to a year about, hey, you're working on formal verification, you're working on this programming stuff. Or, talk to a friend about it who doesn't really understand it all but is just willing to be a good friend. So I apologize if my thoughts are a little mixed together and I go off on a few tangents. But I had to talk about how thankful I was, because I feel like that was never kind of established on my channel. I never got to share with people on my YouTube channel of miracles, basically, that happened in my life. Because that's basically what happened. There's basically miracles that happened. Whew. Even coming back, even playing Minecraft, when I got out of the military, which I probably shouldn't have done that early, taking terminal leave, my sister and brother-in-law had an extra apartment that I could use at like half price. And just things like that. Things worked out. Even little things. Like I had locked myself out of my car, and if I wouldn't have had bought these little locks for my car that had the little lip on the top of them, if I had found the ones that were technically the correct ones for my car, I wouldn't have been able to unlock my car using a coat hanger. So, and that would have costed a lot of money, which I didn't have at the time. So a lot, just little things. Doesn't feel fun to be on the edge. Unless you believe that it's good. Unless you believe that, God wants you to be there on the edge. To be comfortable with knowing that He's actually taking care of you. Rather than thinking that, wow, I'm only here because I'm lucky. And you want to blame the rest of the world for doing everything wrong, for screwing you over, and that you're only still alive because you're the luckiest person on the planet. But because of them, you should be destroyed, dead, blamed for everything. Everyone thinks everything wrong about you. Because that's literally how I would feel. And it's funny that that's how I felt more lately in my life than ever before. Even though it's after so many special things have happened to me. It's funny that I've experienced more anger and more frustration about my life. And ever since going to Pure Life, that it was like there, somewhere that I wanted to trust God and believe that the people there trusted God, and have that turn on me. And it's one thing if people that you feel are just worldly, and you're like, well, it's different for people who believe in God. It's different. But to have those people turn on you, and to really just things get really dark, that's what breaks my heart. So, and then, thinking, oh, well, people who study math and computer science and things like that, they'll understand these. They're logical. And to have them, get things twisted around. For them to have things backwards, and to think that you're the one who doesn't admit that you're wrong. It's just like frustration. Compounded. Because there was a guy at Runtime, he's like one of the lead engineers, but he thinks he at least he thought that you could kind of relate some of computer programming to physics, and he kind of thought that a compression algorithm was similar to reducing entropy. I said, that's not true. You can't compress something perfectly in all cases. You can't take something that's all possible files that are 1 gigabyte and make them all smaller. It's impossible. If you have, let's say you have 8 bits that you want to compress, that means you have 2 to the 8th different files. All 2 to the 8th different files need a representation, so you need at least 2 to the 8th files, which means you at least need 8 bits to represent all those files. You cannot reduce that at all, assuming that your files, can have all 8 of those bits switched either 1 or 0. If it's a specific format, or if you know for a fact that that certain type of file is going to have a certain type of pattern to it, or most files, you can say you can make most files smaller, but not all of them. So that's math, and it overrides whatever physics analogy that he had. And just because I point that out, just because I say, well, I don't get what you're saying, it makes me sound like I'm stupid because I'm saying that I don't get what he's saying. But the reason why I don't get it is because what he's saying is wrong. It's not because I'm stupid, it's because what he's saying is actually incorrect. And because I'm the new guy, and because I look younger than I really am, and I shaved all the time, because I was an undergrad, but they don't pay attention to the fact maybe I was in the military or whatever the case may be. Maybe I got a lower GPA because I was depressed in my junior year of high school, but other than that, I actually got a higher GPA. Whatever it is that in their minds, because I asked a lot of questions about the scripting language, but really the reason why I'm asking so many questions about the scripting language is because I'm better at math, and the scripting language has a poor grammar definition. And they think that it's basic, but to me, the math is basic and the scripting language is garbage. So from their perspective, I'm an idiot. And from their perspective, being polite, you don't tell someone that you think that they're an idiot if you do. From my perspective, if you think someone's an idiot, you tell them. But I don't think that people are idiots that often. So I don't tell people that they're idiots, not because I'm fake and polite, but because I'm smart enough to tell whether someone's actually an idiot or not by not assuming that they are until I know the real facts, which I don't, because you can't really know the real facts about someone unless you're them. So but I could just be an opinionated person, or I could be someone that a computer science professor told an entire class proved him wrong. I could be someone who's just opinionated and just making things up, or I could be someone who had an entire group of people in uniform around me thinking that I wouldn't admit I was wrong about something. But I was saying that a larger object has a higher terminal velocity than a smaller object because it has less surface area to mass ratio. Tell me if that's wrong. Tell me that a solid copper spherically shaped ball that's 20 pounds won't fall faster when there's air friction than a 5-pound one. Tell me. I'm not going to change any of the variables. I'm not going to change any of the statements. Tell me if that's wrong. Because if it is, then I'll admit it. I'll say, you know what? My whole life's a joke. But when you look it up, you'll find out that surface area is proportional to a terminal velocity. Not the density, the surface area. So tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm changing the problem. Tell me that I won't admit that I'm wrong. Tell me that. Tell me that I'm just like everyone else and I get things wrong just as often as everyone else does. Tell me that. So I'm struggling with some mathematics. I never took grad school mathematics. I never did a thesis. But I appreciate that stuff because I think that it's so powerful. I think that it's awesome stuff. But it is like above my head. And I know that I want to work with some of it. I know there's some really good stuff in what I'm studying, but it's difficult to work with. But I want to connect the two. And the major that I had, math and computer science, it literally had the ampersand symbol in there. But it's just one major, it's not two majors. Math and computer science. That describes my interests well. It really does. So my eyes, thankful to God for that. My mind, my situation, my family, my sisters are like the best of the best. Like they would score best of the best. Like my oldest sister was like the best, according to the doctors at the ER. She was the best nurse practitioner in the hospital. You know what? The hospital wanted to get rid of her because she said something nice to someone on Facebook, something positive to someone, and that person responded. People responded to it, and they were saying, well, that other nurse was mean. She shouldn't have been doing this or that, whatever. So they were basically accusing my sister of instigating hate towards some other nurse, just for saying something positive, for encouraging someone. And the doctors there, tell her, you were the best nurse practitioner here. She's basically as smart as a doctor. She's a nurse practitioner. Look it up. It's not just a regular nurse. You're basically a doctor. My third oldest sister, who's still older than me, was in Georgia, and she did like the best in her class at some medical college. And she was going to win the first place. And they talked with her about her beliefs and things like, and she believes in like family values and, conservative. She's not like socialist. She saves her money. She doesn't just live off, government money per se. I mean, her husband has a government job, but he worked and studied hard for that, and so they earn their money. But the school didn't like that. They didn't like hearing her beliefs, her opinions, and so they kind of said, okay, well, whatever. And I think they gave the title to someone else. So they didn't just base it off grades, they just gave the title to someone else, which reminds me of what happened when I was in the Army. I had the best squad leader, I think. Some of the best squad leaders. I had someone who won U.S. Army Soldier of the Year. He went to D.C., competed, and he won. And you know what? He didn't technically win the official one because they thought he didn't look enough like a perfect soldier. So they kind of picked one of the other contestants to technically win, even though he had the most points. But I am thankful for that. I'm thankful that I get the genuine best. Because it's better to have the genuine best than it is to have the fake best. So my family, my education, my leadership, authority, so many things in my life are kind of what I give to this world. The real, genuine best, even when people don't even realize it. And that's what I get. I get like the real best, even when people don't realize it. It's so interesting. But sometimes you just want people to realize it or see something so that they're like, what just happened? And you just want them to be mind blown. Because that's kind of how magic tricks work, Oh, man. I'm about to be really thankful for sleep and water because I'm kind of thirsty too. I'm thankful for this little, well, totally opposite, wrong way. I'm thankful for this little stuffed fox that my sister got me. Um, I was doing that dieting thing. I have a whole graph on it of my progress and everything. And initially, I was losing twice the weight, and then later on, I did this thing where I had to catch up because I bought this coffee and this chocolate, and I ate all this chocolate, and I got like 10 pounds behind. And then I got another graph so I'd get back on track again, and I was on track for that. And I don't know, I needed to analyze it because I ended up not keeping up with it, even though I thought I would. Even though I thought after getting off track and getting back on track that I would keep up with it. But, I wrote myself this thing. I wrote myself a little covenant, dedication to rededicate every day. Even before I was doing that weight plan thing, I think. No matter how I screwed up yesterday, it's there for me to repeat again today. Make 1% improvements. I got that from a book. I really don't know at this point how or where all this type theory stuff that I was really interested in is going to work out. Where it's going to really go. I mean, I have ideas, I have things that I've thought about so much and was so passionate about, and ideas that I really wanted to complete. And I even made this little code editor thing, and I got it to the point where it was almost working for the most part, and then I just stopped coding it. Just like I had just stopped coding that 3D game that I was working on. Even though I had things starting to work. And it's like, life is not working for me like a video game where you make progress and it's like, okay, things are compounding. I don't have that in life. The best I've done is have compounding interest working against me, if anything. At least since I've been out of the army. When I was in the army, I guess I was saving up some, but I was frustrated that I was not able to study as much. I was not able to put as much time in. But I even studied things that I figured this is just for altruism. This is for the good of mankind. I'm going to study about corruption. I'm going to study these documentaries about things that most people believe can't happen or aren't true. And I'm going to believe maybe these things are true. So, wow. I just recorded a 5 gigabyte video for an hour. I just rambled on for an hour. That's a long time. Alright, guys. So I'm going to summarize what I'm thankful for. I'm thankful for when I was in the army, things worked out. I got to go to Japan when I was just, honest with my authority. I'm thankful for that job that I had. I'm thankful for God keeping me safe. This is something I'm adding, I think, right now. when I was driving semi-trucks for like 9 months. I was kept safe. I'm thankful that even the job that I have now, I'm not falling off and breaking my neck from the roof so far. I'm thankful for having the family that I have, having the shelter that I've had when I needed a place to live. And I'm thankful for you guys. I'm thankful for people who watch my videos, because I'm not really alone if someone's watching my videos. I'm not really alone in my thoughts. I might choose to be disconnected from the internet when I'm here in this house, but when I take this video and I upload it, I'm not really alone. So let me know what you guys are thankful for. I'll see you guys next time.